Today, the 15th of July, 2009. Now we come to the second chapter of the Samyutta Nikaya, which is the Devaputta Samyutta. Deva, you know, is a heavenly being, and Putta is son of a Deva. So this chapter concerns the sons of Devas, which means young Devas who have been reborn not so long in the heavens. Now the first chapter I will read is the first sutta I will read is 2.6, Kamada Sutta. At Savatthi, standing to one side, the young Deva Kamada said to the Blessed One, "Hard to do, Blessed One, very hard to do, Blessed One." And the Buddha replied, "They do even what is hard to do. The trainees endowed with virtue, steadfast. For one who has entered the homeless life, contentment brings along happiness." And then the Deva Kamada again said, "That is hard to gain, Blessed One, namely contentment." And the Buddha replied, "They gain even what is hard to gain, O Kamada, who delight in calming the mind, whose minds day and night take delight in development." And Kamada said, "That is hard to concentrate, Blessed One, namely the mind." And the Buddha said, "They concentrate even what is hard to concentrate, who delight in calming the faculties. Having cut through the net of death, the noble ones, O Kamada, go their way." And Kamada said, "The path is impassable and uneven, Blessed One." And the Buddha said, "Though the path is impassable and uneven, the noble ones walk it, Kamada. The ignoble ones fall head down first, right there on the uneven path. But the path of the noble ones is even, for the noble are even amidst the uneven." That's the end of the sutta. So according to the commentaries, this Kamada used to be a monk. And he didn't succeed in the holy life because his mind was very disturbed. So after he passed away, he was reborn in heaven, and that's why he came to see the Buddha and said that this holy life is very hard to practice. But the Buddha said, even it's hard to practice also, the trainees, they practice it. And the Buddha said, contentment brings along happiness. Then he said, it's very hard to get contentment. And Buddha said, even what is hard to get, they calm their mind. Take delight in development. Development should be the word bhavana. Bhavana sometimes is taken to mean meditation, but the actual meaning of bhavana is development of the mind, because an ordinary mind is covered by the 5 hindrances, which make us what we call blur. We don't see things clearly and we don't have wisdom. So when we practice meditation and we attain calm, the hindrances go away. The Buddha says the hindrances are eliminated when we attain the jhanas. Although the roots have not been plucked out, but the Buddha says they are eliminated. They don't trouble that person anymore. And so meditation is a process of developing the mind, getting rid of the hindrances. And then Kamada said it's very hard to concentrate the mind. And then the Buddha said, even though it's very hard, they concentrate the mind and calm the faculties. So it's about a Deva who was a monk and did not succeed. found the holy life so difficult. The next sutta, 2.8, Tayana Sutta, at Savatthi. Then when the night had advanced, the young Deva Tayana, formerly the founder of a religious sect of stunning beauty, illuminating the entire Jeta's grove, approached the Blessed One. Having approached, he paid homage to the Blessed One, stood to one side and recited these verses in the presence of the Blessed One. Having exerted oneself, cut the stream, dispel sensual desires, O Brahmana. Without having abandoned sensual desires, a sage does not reach unity. If one would do what should be done, one should firmly exert oneself. For a slack, wondrous life only scatters more dust. Better left undone is the misdeed, a deed that later brings repentance. Better done is the good deed, which when done is not repented. As kusa grass, wrongly grasped, only cuts one's hand, so the ascetic life, wrongly taken up, drags one down to hell. Any deed that is slackly done, any corrupted vow, a holy life that breeds suspicion, does not yield great fruit. This is what the young Deva Tayana said. Having said this, he paid homage to the Blessed One, and keeping him on the right, he disappeared right there. Then when the night had passed, the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, Monks, last night when the night had advanced, the young Deva Tayana, formerly the founder of a religious sect, approached me and in my presence recited these verses. And the Buddha repeated the verses. This is what the young Deva Tayana said. Having said this, he paid homage to me, and keeping me on the right, he disappeared right there. Learn Tayana's verses, monks. Master Tayana's verses, monks. Remember Tayana's verses, monks. Tayana's verses are beneficial, monks. They pertain to the fundamentals of the holy life. It's the end of the sutta. So you see, this Tayana formerly was the founder of a religious sect. That means he was also an ascetic or a monk. And having been a good monk, probably, he was reborn in heaven. So here he is giving some advice to the monks. So he is telling it to the Buddha so that the Buddha can tell the monks. So these verses are very good. It's very suitable for a monk. That's why normally these verses after the monks 2 weekly uposatha recitation. Every 2 weeks the monks recite the precepts. So after reciting the precepts, generally the monks will recite these verses. Here I read the second line, having exerted oneself, cut the stream, dispel sensual desires, O Brahmana. This word Brahmana means a religious man. Brahmana was formerly the priest, the priest sect. So nowadays, because a lot of these people who belong to the priest sect, they are no more practicing like priests. So nowadays they are called Brahmins. So here the translation is Brahmin. But actually it does not refer to the Brahmin caste. It refers to a religious person. So he says, without exerting oneself, having exerted oneself, cut the stream. The stream, I guess, of, you can say, stream of life or stream of craving. This is without abandoning sensual desires. A sage cannot attain one-pointedness of mind, the jhanas. And then basically saying that a monk, if he does not lead a holy life properly, then he can go down to hell. As kusa grass, wrongly grasped, only cuts one's hand. So the ascetic life, wrongly taken up, drags one down to hell. Kusa grass is a bit like our lalang. If you pull the lalang, it can cut your hand. The next sutta is 2.10 at Savatthi. Now on that occasion, the young Deva, Surya, had been seized by Rahu, lord of the Asuras. Then recollecting the Blessed One, the young Deva, Surya, on that occasion recited this verse. Let homage be to you, the Buddha. O hero, you are everywhere released. I have fallen into captivity, so please be my refuge. Then referring to the young Deva, Surya, the Blessed One addressed Rahu, lord of the Asuras, in verse. Surya has gone for refuge to the Tathagata, the Arahant. Release Surya, O Rahu. Buddhas have compassion for the world. While moving across the sky, O Rahu, do not swallow the Radiant One, the maker of light in darkness, the disk of fiery might in the gloom. Rahu, release my child Surya. Then Rahu, lord of the Asuras, released the young Deva Surya and hurriedly approached Vepachiti, lord of the Asuras. Having approached, shocked and terrified, he stood to one side. Then as he stood there, Vepachiti, lord of the Asuras, addressed him in verse. Why, Rahu, do you come in a hurry? Why did you release Surya? Having come as if in shock, why do you stand there frightened? And he said, my head would have split in 7 parts. While living, I would have found no ease, if when chanted over by the Buddha's verses, I had not let go of Surya. That's the end of the sutta. Here actually, Rahu is the biggest of the Asuras. It's a very huge Deva. So sometimes there are drawings of Rahu swallowing the moon or swallowing the sun. Actually, that is symbolic. There are 2 similar suttas here. One is this Rahu, being a very huge size, he caught this moon god, Chandima, and the same thing happened. Probably he wanted to eat this, kill this Chandima. So in this sutta, he caught the sun god Surya and wanted to kill him. So, but this Surya called out to the Buddha for help. Then the Buddha immediately shouted to Rahu to release this Surya, the sun god. And so he quickly released him and went back to his heaven, shaking like a leaf. So Vepachiti is one of the leaders of the Asuras. This Rahu is not actually a leader, but he is the biggest in size. So Vepachiti asked him, why are you trembling like a leaf? He said, if he had not released Surya, his head would have split in 7 pieces. So when the Buddha says something and you go against his word, it is possible that this would happen. Now the next sutta I'm going to read is 2.15 Chandana Sutta. Standing to one side, the young Deva Chandana addressed the Blessed One in verse. Who here crosses over the flood, unwearying by day and night? Who does not sing in the deep, without support, without a hold? One always, and then the Buddha replied, one always perfect in virtue, endowed with wisdom, well concentrated, one energetic and resolute, crosses the flood so hard to cross. One who desists from sensual perception, who has overcome the fetter of form, who has destroyed delight in existence. He does not sing in the deep. It's the end of the sutta. Here, who crosses over the flood? The flood is the waters of samsara. It's symbolic. If a person is liberated, he crosses the flood, he goes over to the other shore. So he's asking, who does not sing in the deep? The deep is the ocean of samsara, the ocean of the round of rebirths. So the Buddha said, one who is perfect in virtue, well